Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 129 of the Run in the Paint podcast. I'm Miles here with Ben. Ben, how are you doing today?
Doing well.
Doing well indeed. Just wrapped up game two of the NBA Finals where OKC bounced back and tied things up at one game apiece. We'll talk about a whole bunch of stuff from that game while also looking ahead to game three and a pivotal game on a Wednesday night. But to start things off, of course, we have Pirtle. Let's see if we can keep the streak going. If you guys have been watching recently, we have had 5 episodes in a row where we have gotten Pirtle in two guesses, so let's see if we can do it again, man. Our first guest today, Ben, we try to think of a player that could fit a lot of different things, played for a lot of different teams, have a middle jersey number, middle age for basketball terms. And we came up with Torian Prince, who's currently on the Bucks. So let's see what Torian Prince can get us. All right, not a whole lot of yellow or green, but it's someone that's going to be in the Western Conference, most likely a guard, 6'5" or 6'4" guard who's younger than 29 and has a single digit jersey number, who has played for Milwaukee before. So we've got a lot of decent clues, but I think the key thing is that it's a 6'4" guard that used to play for Milwaukee.
Yeah. Interesting. We could definitely get this one quickly. Spin. Who the West used to play for Milwaukee? That's a guard.
Dante DiVincenzo started his career in Milwaukee. He's now, of course, with
Oh,
Minnesota.
what's jersey number?
He's number 0.
Oh,
And I think he'd
might
be
be him.
6'4". Wanna try him?
Trying to think if I can think of anyone else, but
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other guys as well. It's not gonna be Joe Ingles because he's older.
yeah,
Let's see, man.
really
This
can't
is
be
this shouldn't
much.
be that bad because a lot of the Bucks teams in recent years has been a lot of older players. So if those guys have moved to the Western Conference, there's not a whole lot of them out there, I don't think.
Yeah,
I don't know. You want to try DiVincenzo?
yeah. Let's do it.
And if not, then we could see if we need to pivot anywhere else. Dante
Yeah.
DiVincenzo in two
Oh, yeah.
again.
Let's go.
6 episodes in a row with Pearl in two. This is getting more unbelievable by
Yeah.
the episode, man. How are we doing it?
It's crazy, but I think some of these first guesses have really helped too. I think we've been smarter about, I guess, who should be the first player we guess because they have led us some big helpful hints that have really just narrowed things down for us recently.
Yeah, that Milwaukee Bucks in yellow definitely helped us out there. Let us know how long it took you guys. Dante DiVincenzo getting it in two here on this podcast, man. Let's get in to these NBA finals. Game two last night where OKC bounced back. They got a big time victory, 123 to 107 against the Pacers. Huge win across the board here. Of course, this was a an instrumental game in this series after OKC had the heartbreaking loss in game one with the Pacers having another historic comeback. And right from the jump, maybe the first few minutes, OK seemed a little bit nervous coming out of the gate. But once they settled into the game and started playing their brand of basketball across the board, they got huge performances up and down the lineup.
Yeah, a bunch of guys just contributed really well for the Thunder. They got a nice amount of points from multiple guys in this game. Um, Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, J Dub, Chet, and of course Shea. They all scored the ball pretty well. And Aaron Wiggins, yeah, he made a huge impact today for the Thunder when he came in off the bench today. He finally had another one of those games. He was catching fire for free and was just making an impact in other ways too. That's just really helped the team out tonight. And when he's feeling it. He's having a great game here, Wiggins. It, it's tough to beat the Thunder. It makes them even better, you know.
Yeah, Aaron Wiggins was, one of several players who was huge, but he was probably the biggest guy that really bounced up and had an amazing game. 18 points off the bench in just 20 and a half minutes, hit 5 of 8 from three. And this is a guy who has been very solid for them over his career. But even in this playoff run, because they're so deep, there's been some games where he hasn't played and been out of the rotation. This one, he's needed, and he steps in and gives them 18 points. Caruso, amazing 20 points for Alex Caruso off the bench. He hit 4 threes. Great defensive possessions for him as well. And then those two, other guys in the big three, along with Shea, who had his 34 points. He had another big game. But the way that Chet Holmgren started off this game after a pretty bad game one was huge. He was very aggressive early. He got a layup to go in on his first touch of the ball. Was being very aggressive, and that opened up his entire game from the outside, hitting jump shots from three mid range and driving to the basket, getting some layups. And that was huge for him. Holmgren only 15 points in the stat sheet, but they were huge points for OKC because he didn't really give them much of anything in game one.
Yeah, Chet, I wasn't too pleased with his game one performance after game one, but yeah, from the jump in game two, I was really impressed with the way he played. He bounced back well, and look, he was being aggressive when he got the ball in the painted area, and he was making uh shots down there and taking shots he needed to take, and shots were going in, and he continued to be great defensively for them once again. So yeah, really pleased with him, and also I said J Dub he really needed to bounce back in game two after a rough game one, and he did too. He scored the ball well and just made a big impact for them on both ends of the floor once again.
Yep, and he was also great alongside J-Dub, Jalen Williams, who had a bounce back game as well, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists for him. Didn't shoot the ball that well, but got to the free throw line a whole bunch, and his defense was spectacular. Those two guys, it was so important for OKC to get this type of performance from obviously the role players off the bench. But those two co-stars, the other members of this incredible big three that the Thunder have, those two guys need to play well. And even if they're not scoring over 20 points, 25 points, it's instrumental that they have these types of games where they're impacting on both ends of the floor. And this is the type of result you get when all these guys are making an impact. Even guys that didn't score a whole lot. Kaysen Wallace, again, had a good defensive game. Dort, another defensive game. Isaiah Hartenstein coming off the bench. I thought his rebounding and playmaking were huge for this team. Again, he's another guy. He only had 3 points, but I thought he had a huge game off the bench. And those double big lineups that we saw so much during the regular season with Hartenstein and Holmgren, we didn't see it for a single second in game one. We saw it for a lot, longer stretches here in game two, and it looked fantastic. And Hartenstein played very well.
Yeah, it did. And Hartstein, he didn't really score much, but that was all right because that really is score, and he made big contributions in other ways with the defense and then setting some good screens. He's a great screen setter. So yeah, all good for Hartstein and the Thunder in this game.
Yep, and then of course we haven't talked a whole lot about Shea, the actual, MVP of the league. He had an incredible game with 34 points, 5 boards, 8 assists, 4 steals, efficient, 11 of 21 from the floor. Got to the free throw line, knocked down basically all those, 11 for 12 for Shea. I mean, he was just getting to a spot. I thought that the performance he had in this game, he was just making all the right plays and decisions, whether to shoot in the mid range, make the right play outside for his teammates, even subtle things like on a fast break where the Thunder force a turnover, and once again, Indiana had, a bunch of turnovers in this one, 15 for the game. But Shea's bringing it up the court, and Matherin or Nemhard are getting back defensively, or a Pacer defender's getting back, and Shea doesn't take it all the way. He slows some things down because that's what helped the Thunder in this game. I mean, they were pushing the pace at times when transition opportunities presented themselves. But for the most part, when the Thunder were setting up in the half court, they were getting a good shot most of the time. And I thought Shea did a great job of setting the tone and setting the pace of this game, which normally the games have been set at the Pacers' pace for them all playoffs long. In this game, it was Oklahoma City's advantage there.
Yeah, exactly. And Shea, yeah, it's just probably like an MVP for another night. He was great once again, and it was an all around great performance at both ends for both KC. And it seemed like they made some good adjustments from game one, and they didn't really take their foot off the gas pedal either in this game. They kept on going. They didn't want to fool around with Indiana this entire game. They wanted to make sure that they were going to get this job done and just keep playing their best basketball throughout this game until like the 2 minutes left. But yeah, Indiana wasn't going to be able to come back. So I was really impressed with, you know, how OKC adjusted with just continuing to go hard at it throughout the game and just making it hard on Indiana all throughout the game.
Yeah, and forcing them into uncomfortable situations and not allowing them to go on many crazy runs that we're used to seeing them go on. I mean, the only glaring run that the Pacers went on in this game was in the first half when OKC went up by 23, 52 to 29 with like 4 or 5 minutes to go in the half, and Indiana immediately responds with a 10-0 run to get it back to 13. After that point, I don't think that the Pacers got the deficit back down, in single digits. I think the Thunder did a very good job of just keeping the Pacers at bay. And, for the entire rest of the game, because the Pacers have made all these incredible comebacks, every fan is thinking to themselves, all right, it's not over yet. Even with a 20-point lead to start the fourth quarter, it's not over yet. You got to play to the finish. And the Thunder did. And they just kept them at bay. The Pacers weren't really able to stop OKC on many possessions. The ball was kind of bouncing their way most of the time. And they got great performances, from their role guys. I mean, that's really the difference in these types of moments. Role players play better at home, especially when it comes down to the NBA Finals. And in this game, OKC got Caruso and Wiggins to combine for 38 points. I mean, Caruso having 20 and Wiggins having 18. That's higher than any Indiana Pacer in this game. And I think that's where we need to go to next is the Pacers performance in this game. Still not horrible, score 107 points, but you turn it over 15 times. No one really has a standout game. But I guarantee you the number one thing that's going to be talked about and the thing that we have to start with is Tyrese Halliburton, the lack of aggression until the fourth quarter. He finishes with a team high 17.6 assists. But if I'm not mistaken, up until the fourth quarter, he only had taken like 8 shots. Like he was not looking to shoot the ball. He wasn't able to get into the paint that much. And he wasn't, getting a whole lot of great looks to score the ball. He also had 5 turnovers, which is a lot for Halliburton. Ben, for a guy that's been so incredible throughout these playoffs with having big moments as a scorer, obviously his number one thing is to make plays for his teammates. But what did you think of him and his performance in this game?
Well, I overall wasn't too impressed with it in this game. Yeah, it's just like he started getting more aggressive, in the fourth quarter, which was good. See if it could lead to something, but it was getting kind of late. They're already down big, and he needed to be more aggressive earlier in the game. And I'm kind of confused by what he was thinking earlier in the game by not being super aggressive and looking to pass it more. like I get it, for him, yeah, it's good to, look the pits and to get your teammates involved, but I mean, OKC was playing some pretty good defense too on your teammates, and some of the times you just could have, you know, driven to the basket or something, and or maybe tried a tough three. Who knows? He's a great shooter. Maybe something could have went in, and he just should have been more aggressive. And same with Siakam. He also wasn't super aggressive in this game. And it was like a big part of this game to me was, you know, the stars for OKC showed up and played great. But then for the Pacers, their stars, they didn't really show up. They had rough games.
No question about it. I mean, for Halliburton, you talk about, his shot selection. Like in the second half, he was taking, what some would maybe think are bad shots, but he's a great shooter. He was being more aggressive in that fourth quarter, and he was knocking down some tough threes and some floaters, but the game was already out of reach at that point. And looking at his shot chart in this game, he took 13 shots, only two of them came in the paint and they were little floaters, like no real big rim attacks. And a big part of that is for a lot of these Pacer players, when they drive to the rim and get to the paint against this Thunder team, the Thunder immediately swarm like a bunch of ants and to try to just take the ball away. As soon as, you get 2 feet into the paint, the Thunder are there and they are looking to strip the ball and get steals. That happened a lot in this game. Oklahoma City had 10 steals, four of them from Shea Gilgis Alexander. And a lot of those resulted in, turnovers, and the Thunder for the most part, were scoring off them. It wasn't anything major, but those points off turnovers, especially at home for Oklahoma City, are so much louder, for that team than a lot of others, in the league. And I think that starts with Halliburton. We'll see how he, comes out in game three. I mean, you'll look in this game and see that he ended up taking the most shots, for his team. He took 13 shots, which led the team. He attempted eight threes, but it's gotta be more. He was not aggressive enough, in this game. He only had 5 shots in the entire first half, 4 of them were threes. He just has to come out and be more aggressive, and we've talked about it time in and time out, on this podcast about how when he doesn't look to shoot the ball, Pacers normally lose the game. When he's having those high field goal attempts and scoring a lot, Pacers have a ton of success, and he's had, some of his best games when he is looking to shoot the ball. So I think it does start with him, but you're right with Siakam. I mean, he only had 15 points. A lot of those were from the free throw line, but he only had 11 shots himself. He was 3 of 11 from the field, and one of those makes was the first three-pointer of the game for the Pacers, their first possession. So really, he was 2 for 10 after the first possession of the game. So those 2 stars for the Pacers have to play better.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see how they respond to game three, but hopefully the home crowd in Indiana that one could get them going and get them to be more aggressive. But we'll see. And yeah, for Indiana, nobody, really outside of the two guys we just talked about, Siakam and Halliburton, really did anything too special as well. But Miles Turner, though, to me, looked solid in this game. He didn't seem too bad. So far, I think he's been holding up all right in this series as Miles Turner.
Yeah, I would agree. This game, he got his, jump shot going in the third quarter. He had a monster poster in the fourth quarter. He may have been their best player in this game. Which shows you their struggles in this game. I think he's someone that also needs to rebound better. That's always something with Miles Turner. He only had 4 boards in this game. And that's something that as a team we should also talk about. After in game one, OKC got out rebounded by 17, they out rebounded Indiana this game 43 to 35 by 8. So they bounced back on the boards, and that also, had a big difference. And they were knocking down shots across the board, 14 of 36 from 3, while the Pacers weren't hitting them, at as much of a high clip as they have throughout the playoffs, and a lot of their looks were tougher in this game. I mean, Nemhard only had 11 points. Siakam was only 1 for 4 from three. Turner was 1 of 5 from three. Obi Toppin didn't really have an impact on this game. They really didn't get much impact at all from the bench besides Benedict Mathurin. McConnell's stats look good, but picked up some of those buckets in the final minutes there in garbage time. So I think Pacers across the board, they were due for a game kind of like this, but you got to give a ton of credit to the OKC defense for just making things super difficult and making the Pacers feel super uncomfortable. And now we go to Indianapolis for game 3, which will be on Wednesday with the series tied up at 1 game apiece. ABC 8:30 Wednesday night from the Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The Pacers hosting their first finals game since 2000. So those fans are going to be crazy for that game. Ben, what do you think Oklahoma City needs to do moving forward in this series to continue to play this style of basketball? Because at the end of the day, you get this big time victory, but losing game 1, you already lost your home court advantage. So you need to steal one of these next 2 games back from Indiana. What do you want to see from the Thunder as they go to Indiana and try to steal another one on the road?
That's a good question. I think that me personally, Cates and Walls, he was inserted into the starting lineup the last few games, but I mean, so far, I mean, I wouldn't really say he's played great so far this series. Honestly, I think they should give back the Hardstein, in my opinion, in the starting lineup in Game 3. I mean, they probably won't listen to me, but I just think that would work out better for them. I think it would help the rebounding. The Pacers would be able to get as much second chance opportunities for that, and then you wouldn't have to really worry as much about bad mismatches as I as when you have Case and Wallace out there in the starting lineup getting mismatched on the Siakam sometimes. That could maybe be a problem in Indiana because Siakam might come out more aggressive in game 3 as you know I'm hoping to see him do. I'm hoping, Siakam can get more fired up in game 3 in front of the home crowd, but that's one thing, and OKC really just, needs to take smart shots. SGA needs to get to the free throw line a lot still, and they gotta hope that they can continue playing great defense as they have so far in this series, and that they can give Indiana um a lot of comfortable times even on their home floor against them.
Yeah, I mean, OKC's just going to have to continue what they've been doing. I mean, all season long. It's simple. They got to play their brand of basketball. Pacers have to play their brand of basketball, like we've seen through 2 games. Whichever pace has been played, it's gone the favor of that respective team. In game 1, it was faster in the end with the Pacers. They win the game. Thunder very defensive minded, force a lot of turnovers once again, and get this victory. And all their guys playing well. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, for the Pacers, you think Siakam's going to have a big bounce back game. He's been so consistent for this Pacers team. Hasn't really had many bad games, throughout the last few months, even going back to the regular season. And you think Halliburton's going to come back and have a better game, but at the same time, he might try to role players play better at home, so he might look to get his other guys going early to start that game to try to get the Gainbridge Fieldhouse fired up to start off the game, to throw that initial punch. And, that's how they get off to a rough start. I think an interesting thing about the Pacers throughout this playoff run, where they've been so amazing, is they have not been that great at home. They've actually been worse at home than on the road in these playoffs. They've lost all 3 game 3s that they've played in so far. But the other interesting thing is the fact that they've also bounced back in a huge way after all 4 of their previous losses of these playoffs. in all three rounds. After they lose, they come out with some of their best performances. Um, that they've ever had. I mean, in the 4 games after losses, the Pacers have won by an average of 14 and a half points per game. And some of their best performances, you automatically think of the game 4 against the Cavaliers when they were just on fire in the second round. Game 4 in Milwaukee, where they win by 26. The closeout game against New York in the conference final. Those are all off of losses. And we could see another one in this game. So we'll see which Pacers team we get coming out of the locker room to start game 3.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued to see how the Pacers come out at home. I don't really know totally what Pacers team will get, but they seem frustrated at the end of this game too by what was going on, and they seemed confused about some stuff OKC ended up doing against them in game two. So they could come out and have a great performance and somehow still game three. They could be really hungry, and it's definitely going to help having now the home crowd behind you guys, and it's going to go crazy in Indiana. I know those fans are so excited too. About being in the finals, just like the Thunder fans. So, um, and I also agree with you on that. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. Halliburton was trying to get his role players involved. Role players, yeah, Kim tend to play better at home, and yeah, Indiana could really use some role players to step up in this game. But Halliburton and Siakam, though, they definitely need to be aggressive in this game. Like they aren't really that aggressive. You know, they're not going to have a great shot to win this game even at home. So they really got to bounce back and show up if they want a good chance to win.
Yeah, absolutely. It starts with those 2 guys. And I want to be clear on something with the Halliburton thing. Of course, we know we've watched him, over the last couple years in the playoffs, and his number one ammo is making plays for his teammates. We're not saying that he needs to be someone that he is not. He needs to turn on the aggression earlier than he did in this game, because in this game, he didn't really start taking a lot of shots and looking for his own offense until in the fourth quarter when it was already a 20-point game. I think back to one of his best games where he was being super aggressive was the closeout game in the second round against the Cavs, where wasn't that great to start off in the first quarter. The Cavaliers had a 19-point lead early in that game. And then Halliburton was like, okay, we need some offense. I need to get going. And he started looking for a shot. He hit 5 straight threes in the second quarter. Pacers get back in the game and go on to close out the series on the road. So he needs to keep on, looking to make plays for his teammates, because it's not like Neesmith is going to get a bunch of shots by creating them for himself. Same thing with Turner, even Siakam at times. You usually have to, force feed him the ball. Not force feed him, but you have to give him the ball. He's not going to, bring the ball up. So Halliburton needs to continue to do that, look for his guys, but he needs to turn on that aggression earlier in the game and not wait until the fourth quarter to start looking for his own offense.
Yeah, exactly right. Um, I definitely hope to see that out of him too in game three, and it's gonna be interesting to see how these teams look in game three. Uh, I think it's a big game three, and whoever wins this game three, I think could have a nice advantage going forward in the series. So this is really crucial game coming up.
Yeah, absolutely huge with it being tied up at 1 game apiece. Game 3 again will be on Wednesday night from Indiana, 8:30 on ABC. Game 3 of the 2025 NBA Finals. It's been fun to have a compelling series so far through 2 games. Of course, the last few years haven't really had a whole lot of that. We talked about it a lot. Seems like so far we are in for a treat with the rest of these finals, and I am excited to see what is going to happen. Ben, what do you think is going to happen in game 3 on Wednesday? Want to throw out any predictions?
It's hard to make predictions for game three. Who knows what can happen?
Oh, well, and of course, this is just after game 2. So,
Yeah, I mean, it'll help once I think about it a bit more. But I think Halliburton, though, find the predictable bounce back and have a good game. I think he'll be more aggressive. I think he'll have that figured out. I guess Rick Carlisle will go over some stuff with the team. To help make some good adjustments on that, and I think he can get some good assists going and score the ball good. And I'm gonna guess that. I really don't know which role player it could be who steps up, but I'm gonna guess Miles Turner will have a good game in game three, and some other role player. I'm gonna guess uh Smith somehow is gonna get a game three, but who knows? We'll have to see. And
yeah, well,
for
here,
the
go, here, keep going.
Thunder, I think Chet Holmgren will look solid again. I think he can carry over, do good in game three, and Big Shake could have another great game. But I'm not too sure about J Dub yet. But if he can play great too, if the Big Three does great for the Thunder, they're hard to beat. So we'll see.
Yeah, we will definitely see. I think honestly, I think I'm gonna go Pacers to win game 3.
Ooh,
I think that Halliburton figured some things out with the aggression in the fourth quarter. Because his shot was going. I mean, he's been efficient throughout this finals so far. I mean, not the best in game 1 up until that game-winning shot, but he was efficient in this game. You just didn't take a whole lot of shots. I mean, the key, of course, Indiana needs to stop turning the ball over. Them winning game 1 has disguised the fact that they have averaged like 19 and a half turnovers through 2 games. So I think that they're going to need to take care of the ball a lot better than they have these first 2 games, but I'll go Indiana for game 3. But we will see what happens. Again, game 3, Wednesday night, 8:30 on ABC. Indiana hosting their first NBA Finals game in 25 years. Cannot wait to hear that atmosphere there for the NBA Finals. We will be back on Thursday to discuss game 3 and predict game 4 and see if there's any other news in the NBA up until then. Until then, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA Finals content. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you in the next one.